fined €31 million by UEFA for breaking their financial rules. Now that can increase to €91 million if Chelsea miss financial targets which have been set for them by UEFA. So this €31 million fine is made up of a €20 million fine for breaking UEFA's financial monitoring rules, and that could go up by another £60 million if over the next 4 years Chelsea miss the targets which have been set by UEFA. Also, Chelsea have been fined €11 million for breaking UEFA's squad cost rules. Those rules basically say that clubs can only spend a maximum of 80% of their revenue on transfers and player wages, and UEFA say that Chelsea have broken those rules and they've gone over the permitted 80%. UEFA say Chelsea have spent between 80 and 90% of their revenue on transfers and player wages. Also, if you remember the sort of slightly strange situation where the 2 hotels that are at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea sold those 2 hotels. They were involved in a transaction which was worth £76 million. Basically what happened is that they were sold by one subsidiary of Chelsea's holding company to another subsidiary of Chelsea's holding company. That meant that Chelsea could bank an extra £76 million in revenue, which obviously helps them when they're trying to comply with financial fair play rules and PSR rules. Now that kind of transaction is allowed under Premier League rules, but it is not allowed under UEFA's rules, and that is one of the reasons why Chelsea have been hit with this fine. So that's Chelsea. Now the Aston Villa case is a bit simpler. What's happened with Aston Villa is that they've been fined €11 million for breaking UEFA's financial rules. That can rise to €26 million if Aston Villa miss financial targets set by UEFA. Now the €11 million fine is made up of €5 million for breaking UEFA's football earning rules, and also €6 million for breaking UEFA's squad cost rules. So Aston Villa have also spent more than the permitted 80% of their revenue on player wages and transfers. And that €5 million fine for breaking the football earnings rules, that can increase by €15 million to a maximum of €20 million if Aston Villa miss financial targets which have been set for them by UEFA. Very, very simple, isn't it? I mean, why can't UEFA just release a press statement saying Chelsea have been fined this much for breaking this rule, Aston Villa have been fined this much for breaking this rule? No, instead we get long, convoluted statements with addendums and attachments and findings and tables, and goes on and on and on. I'm just a football reporter doing my best to understand all this. I think I may need to take a sort of evening course in accountancy to keep up with all these financial regulations which have basically taken over football over the past couple of years. Could also be under a transfer embargo from UEFA. Now I've been trying to get my head around this, read everything that UEFA have released, and there is a possibility that Chelsea and Aston Villa will be limited from registering players for UEFA competitions going forward. Because in one of the releases from UEFA today, and I'll just read it out to you so you can get your head around it, it says that both Chelsea and Aston Villa have agreed to be subject to sporting restrictions which may mean that they won't be able to register any new players on their A list for UEFA club competitions. And I think what they go on to say is that both Chelsea and Aston Villa have to balance their books when it comes to transfers, so they need to sell players as well as buy players to comply with UEFA's regulations and to be able to register players for UEFA competitions.
Big money, big ambition, but now, big consequences. Chelsea and Aston Villa are in UEFA's crosshairs. fined millions for breaching financial rules. What happened? Why now? And what does it mean for their futures? This is Sport Lab. Let's break it down. Opening square bracket. Chelsea have been slapped with a massive £27 million fine, and if they slip up again, they could pay up to £52 million more. Aston Villa, fined £9.5 million, with an additional £13 million hanging over them if they breach their agreement with UEFA. This isn't just about one rule, it's multiple violations. Both clubs overspent on their squads and broke UEFA's football earnings rule, spending between 80 and 90% of their revenue on players. UEFA's new limit, 70% by 2025. These clubs overshot that by a mile. Chelsea's case is particularly messy. UEFA fined them €20 million for a suspicious hotel sale, moving assets internally within their ownership group, legal under Premier League rules, not under UEFA's. Add €11 million more for overspending on player costs, and you get a total €31 million fine, with a potential €91 million in total if they miss future targets. Chelsea say they've worked transparently with UEFA and that their financial performance is improving. But with long contracts and high wages stacking up, UEFA isn't convinced. As for Aston Villa, they've been hit with an €11 million fine, €5 million for breaking earnings rules, and €6 million for squad cost overspending. If they fail to meet UEFA targets over the next 3 years, they could face up to €26 million in total penalties. Villa's rise under Unai Emery has come at a cost, and UEFA is warning him, spend smarter, or pay later. Both clubs have agreed to registration restrictions in UEFA competitions. For Villa, that kicks in from the 2025-26 season, unless they balance spending with player sales. For Chelsea, restrictions will apply in both 2025-26 and 2026-27, and longer if they breach terms again. The message is clear: UEFA is done playing games. Breach the rules, and it's not just fines, it's your European ambitions on the line. The era of financial free-for-alls is over. Chelsea and Villa's fines are just the beginning of UEFA's clampdown. Big clubs now face a new challenge, not just winning on the pitch, but balancing the books off it. For more sharp breakdowns of football's biggest stories, you're already in the right place. This is Sport Lab. See you next time.